Hey, I'm Voj Tech. Welcome from Austria's Dachstein, and in this video we're going to explore this massive ski resort. Crazy controls and parking of a historic gondola, super modern 6-seat lifts from Leitner, and I'll also show you the amazing slopes and views you can find here. So drop a like, subscribe, and watch till the very end, because I've got a secret app for you that you won't find anywhere in the Czech Republic. Let's go. You can access this resort from several different sides. I'll show you where I stayed a bit later, but we'll start this video from the Gosa side. The first lift from the valley is called Hornspitz Express 1. It's a detachable 4-seater from 1991. This 35-year-old machine was one of the first lifts built using the Doppelmayr UNI system. Before that, every lift project was basically unique. To reduce costs, Doppelmayr came up with this universal system, which could then be slightly adjusted for each project. The drive, conveyors, detachable grips and so on all stayed the same. This particular one is about 1.5 kilometers long with just under 400 meters of vertical rise. The original Siemens control system was later replaced with a modern Fry system, which we'll talk about later. The slope next to it is amazing in the upper section, but lower down, where everyone starts braking, it got pretty rough quickly. It's followed by a more modern and also more comfortable 6-seater Hornspitz Express 2. This one was built in 2004. And compared to Hornspitz 1, it's about 2 generations newer, the Doppelmayr UNI-G. However, it's still one of the early installations of this type, so there are a few small differences. For example, the control system isn't the typical Doppelmayr, but again Siemens. There's also no loading carpet. On the other hand, it already has more modern and comfortable padded seats, although after 20 years they've definitely seen some wear, and it runs at a nice 5 meters per second. It also has bubbles, but of course, no heated seats yet. The slopes here are more sporty red runs, and I really liked them. To reach the middle part of the resort, you have to take this T-bar lift. The slope next to it is completely flat, with barely 50 meters of vertical, so the T-bar really isn't a problem here. Honestly, it even fits the place quite well. Sure, it's not the fastest ride, but over those 600 meters you just enjoy these beautiful views. The T-bar takes you up to the Edtalmbahn slope. It's a great red run with a slightly steeper middle section. It's served by 2 lifts. The first one is this orange beast, and yeah, you can probably guess, this was my absolute favorite. When they built this lift, it feels like they just checked every option in the configurator. This thing has everything. We've got 5 meters per second, heated leather seats with higher headrests, long stations, orange bubbles, and most importantly, an automatic safety bar with individual footrests. And I just have to say, this is the better system, where the bar closes smoothly and locks in place. Not like on old Leitner lifts, where it just slams into your head. In the top station, it lifts up automatically. The only thing they didn't add back then is a loading conveyor. But honestly, it's not even needed here. So yeah, I was completely blown away by this lift. But the craziest part is when I tell you when it was built. So you know what, I'll let you guess for a second. When do you think it was built? Drop it in the comments. I should also mention it uses the classic Doppelmayr control system. Alright, got your guesses? It was built back in 2010, the same year when a still modern lift was being built in Dolní Morava in the Czech Republic, and you can really see the difference in investment here. It's 850 meters long with about 200 meters of vertical rise, and the views from this part of the resort are just as amazing. This lift replaced an older Doppelmayr T-bar, and the whole investment package at the time cost almost 9 million euros. Before we move on to the more interesting lifts, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. These videos take a lot of time to make, and this is the only way you can really support me. Thanks. The exact opposite is this fixed 6-seater right next to it.
Höhbühelbahn.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. It's about 500 meters long and incredibly slow. The ride-up takes a full 4.5 minutes, if it doesn't stop. Just for comparison, the 1.7 times longer Edtalmbahn gets you up in just 3 minutes. That's how slow this one is. It's a fixed grip 6-seater without a loading conveyor, which basically means a maximum speed of just 1.8 meters per second. This ride feels endless. And on top of that, there are these kid stops, and if you sit down wrong, it can actually hurt. The only positives here are the more comfortable leather seats, and the fact that it's just a connector, so you don't have to ride it that often. A much more interesting lift is the Panorama Jet Zwieselalm. At first glance, it looks like a pretty standard 2.25 kilometer long Doppelmayr gondola. It was built back in 2004, so again, one of the early UNI-G installations in Austria. But after just 10 years of operation, it went through a major upgrade in 2014. A new one-way mid-station was added right in the middle of the line. Before that, if you were coming from Edtalmbahn and wanted to continue towards Annaberg, you had to ski all the way down to the bottom station, and those slopes aren't exactly great. So they built the mid-station to avoid that detour. There was another issue though. The right line originally ran downhill, which meant the cabins would take you the wrong direction. So they had to reverse the direction of operation, and now the main hauling line runs on the right side. And let me mention a couple of extremes. The towers, there are 14 in total, and the last 3 are absolute monsters. And then the vertical, over its 2,226 meters of length, it climbs an impressive 770 meters. That gives you a maximum gradient of around 71%, and in those slightly sketchy Swoboda cabins, it's definitely not a ride for people afraid of heights. When you step out of the gondola, something much more modern appears right in front of you. The brand new Aussichtsbergbahn from Leitner. A luxury lift with yet another crazy name. The names are not getting any easier from here. What it lacks in name, it definitely makes up for in comfort. Because if there's one thing Leitner really knows how to do, it's comfort. Premium EVO leather seats, of course heated, with the best version of the safety bar, just like on the orange lift. Leitner also nailed their detachable grip, the LPA grip. The DT from Doppelmayr, or even the newest D-line grip, just isn't as smooth and refined as the LPA. Another perfect feature here is the direct drive system. It's so quiet that even at full speed, you can hear the safety bar locking. That's because there's no gearbox, it rotates at the same speed as the rope. Just for comparison, this is the Edtalmbahn again at full speed. That 16-year gap really shows, although Doppelmayr now also uses direct drive in newer installations. Maybe sometime in the future we'll do a separate video on this technology, because in my opinion it was one of the biggest breakthroughs in lift engineering. The line is just under a kilometer long, and at 5 meters per second, you'll be at the top in about 4 minutes. There's a very similar 6-seater coming up from the valley. The key difference is that this one is second-hand, brought over from Germany. It was built there in 2018, but after just 6 years, it was sold due to unprofitable operation. Here in Dachstein, they refurbished it and renamed it Annaberg. Unlike its sister lift, this one uses station parking instead of an automatic storage system. Otherwise, the technology is almost identical. What's interesting here are the towers, especially towers 3 and 4, forming this kind of extreme swing. And towers 5 and 6 also hint that this lift is second-hand. On a brand new installation, they probably wouldn't place a compression and support tower like that right next to each other. In my opinion, it's a great example of reusing older technology. The slopes around these two lifts are easygoing red and blue runs, ideal for kids or less experienced skiers. On the other side of the ridge, there's yet another gondola, another cat track special, the Donnerkogelbahn from Doppelmayr. But this one isn't boring either. It has a mid-station. Due to disagreements with landowners, the lift couldn't run in a straight line, so about 1/3 up the route, they built a pass-through mid-station. It later proved useful as an exit point for kids accessing a small slope. What's interesting is that the entire lift has just one motor, located in the bottom station. In the mid-station, there's a single bullwheel with 2 grooves for both rope loops. The sections are connected, and the motor at the bottom transfers power to the second rope as well. What else to say? It's a fairly modern lift with a nice design, leather seats, and a length of almost 2 kilometers. One more thing worth mentioning is the not-so-common Doppelmayr sector drive. It's kind of a bridge between a standard drive and direct drive. Compared to a classic system, it should be more efficient, less prone to failure, easier to maintain, and supposedly quieter, but of course, it still can't match a true direct drive. And in this part of the resort, there's also a nice fun line for kids. Unfortunately, the only one in the whole Dachstein this season. And if you'd like to see some photos from Austria, you can check out my Instagram, link in the description. Heading further past this gondola honestly makes no sense. Yeah, it's completely empty. There were barely any skiers, but there's a reason for that. First, the lifts. Slow Doppelmayr fixed grip quads from the year 2000, and yeah, that's rough. Both are about a kilometer long, and the ride takes 7 minutes. The second reason is the slopes. They do do offer a steeper, more sporty pitch, but the surface is just a total ice block. Absolutely awful conditions. And on top of that, in several places you're crossing an asphalt road, which your skis definitely won't appreciate. Now it's time to slowly head back. The Donnerkogelbahn takes you back up towards the Leitner lifts, and on the way we can stop by the Torleckbahn. This is the highest point in the entire resort, and the views from here are just incredible. You can see basically the whole Dachstein from up here. Of course, the slopes reflect that too. One is a steeper red, the other is a proper black run, but they're quite similar. They're served by a fairly old Giric lift from the year 2000. But honestly, I think it fits here pretty well and is more than enough for these slopes. From the top station of Panorama Jet, slope number 9 leads back. But when I was there, it wasn't properly covered with snow, so everyone, including small kids, had to take slope 9B instead, which is a steep black monster. After just 2 hours, it was completely destroyed, full of bumps, and every time I went down, ski patrol was there. This felt pretty unsafe to me, and I really don't understand why such an important slope isn't open during peak season, so watch out for that. Then you take the Hochgeglyph T-bar. This Swoboda lift from the 90s is, in my opinion, probably next in line to be replaced by a chairlift. It's about 3/4 of a kilometer long, so a chairlift would make a lot of sense here. Maybe once another second-hand Leitner shows up. By the way, this lift has its own snowmaking, small snow guns just for the lift line. Pretty interesting. And now it's just the orange lift again, then Hornspitz Express, and we arrive at Hornbahn, the final lift in this resort. And this one is a proper beast. It's 2.6 kilometers long with over 600 meters of vertical rise. At 5 meters per second, the ride takes 9 minutes. The line is supported by 25 towers, and reportedly it has a 1000 kilowatts drive. And this is what it looks like. It doesn't really stand out on video, but that gearbox is probably twice my height. I also managed to film the parking process here. The garage is one way, so the cabins actually reverse while being parked. The automatic storage system isn't really that automatic anymore, so the cabins need a bit of help. All the switches here are manual, and instead of tires, there are chains with steel studs in the curves. The whole parking process takes a solid half an hour, and while Thomas is parking it, let's take a look at the control system, aka the Chinese marketplace. Not long ago, Hornbahn went through a major retrofit. The original Siemens control system was replaced with a new one from Frey Austria, so let's check it out. Since the original system no longer met modern safety standards, and wasn't exactly user-friendly either, they brought in Frey with their more modern solution. This is kind of like a budget version of Doppelmayr Connect, but it can modernize pretty much any lift. You get a large touchscreen display, new compact control cabinets, panels, sensors, basically a full electronics overhaul. It can give even an old lift a second life. But careful, don't confuse it with Frey AG Stands, which is now the software division of Doppelmayr. In 2017, Doppelmayr Garaventa Group actually acquired Frey Stands. But the Austrian branch split off and created their own system. So Frey Stands equals Connect, and Frey Austria is this system here. And white Chinese marketplace? Well, compared to Connect, it feels a bit rough, and more importantly, it makes some pretty crazy sounds. Just listen to this. Interesting, right? Still, in my opinion, it's a great upgrade and quite possibly the reason why Hornbahn and Hornspitz are still running today. And finally, I'll show you one app you're definitely going to like. It's called Skiline, an app for tracking your ski runs. What's interesting is that it doesn't use your phone at all. Instead, it pulls data directly from the lift turnstiles. Using NFC, you can scan your ski pass or just enter the unique code printed on the front. Every time you go through a gate, it instantly shows up in the app. Of course, from this data, it's not possible to know exactly which slope you took, but it gives a pretty good estimate, and your vertical stats are always accurate. For example, I can clearly see which lift was my favorite, the Edtalmbahn. And I also know that during my whole Austria trip, I took lifts 102 times. In Dachstein, it works together with ski data turnstiles. Axis supposedly supports it as well, but most resorts using this system rely on ski data. Here in Dachstein, it's mainly just for tracking. But in other resorts, there are photo points, speed checks, or even races where a panoramic camera films you like at the Olympics. And all of that works just from the turnstile data that resorts already use to monitor operations. So it's definitely worth trying. As far as I know, no resort in the Czech Republic uses this yet, which is kind of a shame. One last interesting thing in Dachstein are the ski lockers at the base stations, and also the free ski bus. We stayed at Hotel Waldwart. First of all, the food there was great, and right at check-in we got a key to a locker at Hornbahn, plus a timetable for the ski buses. The lockers are located right below the lift station, so you don't have to carry your skis back to the hotel. The ski bus runs at reasonable times, it's free, and takes skiers to the slopes and back. And by the way, it was almost empty most of the time, so it's definitely worth using. And that's it for Dachstein. Which lift did you like the most? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And here, YouTube picked another video you might enjoy. See you next time. Bye.